Freeland Square, an outstanding residential infill development project in Collegeville Borough, received a 2024 Montgomery Award for collaborative planning process, creative design, and lasting community benefits. This outstanding project carefully fit a new townhome community into the existing street grid to add residential density within walking distance of the downtown, contributing to the walkability, neighborhood feel, and economy of one of Montgomery County's iconic borough main streets. Let's take a look.
This project started when there was an existing industrial use that previously was on this property for a number of years and sat in the middle of town, adjacent to residential behind us and directly adjacent to our main street, which we've been trying to redevelop for the last 20 years. And with the vacancy of the industrial building, we had the opportunity to look at alternative uses, and WB approached us with an interest in buying the property and redeveloping it for residential use.
This has been a project that we're quite proud of, that we started developing in 2018. This project from day one was always a candidate for us for a redevelopment project. This site being adjacent to Main Street and then adjacent to single-family homes was an opportunity to do transition zoning and remove what was an eyesore of industrial within the middle of the borough.
Once we had started discussions with WB Homes about redeveloping this property, one of the main concerns from residents and council and planning commission members was what was the right density for redevelopment of this previous industrial use and what would the density look like. This development is more dense than a lot of the other residential communities we have in the borough at the moment. So one of the benefits of this project was WB invited us to a similar project they had constructed in Lansdale Borough, and we met with John Ernst and his staff and were able to walk the site, visualize the density. So it helped us when we wrote the zoning code to get the density right and get the parking right.
The density on the property was critical. There was a critical mass of density required so that we could buy out the underlying use, still make a profit on our development, and end up with all of the design elements that were critical to making this a first-rate development. So in working on that, we ended up with 40 residential units, and that ended up being the appropriate amount of density so that we could afford to do all of the appropriate design elements to make a first-class development.
So one of the outstanding things to me about this project is how well we work together with Chris Canavan with WB Homes. So at the beginning of the process, we made sure there were stories in our borough newsletter, and we also had meetings at the council. And we developed a Q&A that would talk about both sides of the issue so everybody could be heard. Usually with new developments, people don't want a development because it'll bring more people, more cars, more congestion. But in this case, Chris and the borough was able to provide enough facts that I think the majority of our residents could see the benefit of this development.
What were some of the items that we had to address were related to parking, pedestrian interconnectivity, and how did we create an appropriate streetscape to blend our development with the adjacent community. Building within the confines of one block within the borough creates several design constraints. First, the property was 97% impervious. The site today is 68% impervious, so we had a significant reduction in impervious, and that was done through our design elements, the amount of grass we were able to put in around the perimeter and throughout the courtyards in the site. An infill development is unique because you're targeting what you hope would be a buyer that will appreciate the walkability of the community, the amenities that are on the main street, the parks that are available to them, and I think we definitely saw that. This was a very attractive community as we have a number of restaurants and shops for them to walk to within a block of the development.
We have seen some economic impacts as well. Through the development, the borough received about $200,000 in transfer tax from the new homes. The appraised value of the site increased by about $5 million. We also have seen an increase in earned income tax Between the year that it was built and the year it was complete, we've seen a $125,000 increase.
So there's actually two phases to the communication. The first phase was pre-development and pre-project, but then there were still people that weren't quite convinced. But now that it's actually been 2 years after the development, I think that this new development has really integrated well into Collegeville Borough.
Thank you for taking the time to learn about this exceptional project. If you want to learn more about this project or any of the other winners, please visit our website at montgomerycountypa.gov/planning.